Oh, I'll start dialing it back. Um, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know if it's time back or not. Guys, it is Monday. It is 5 o'clock. Time for a little bit of after hours real estate. I am Chris Beshek, a real estate broker just outside of Austin, Texas, and Dripping Springs, Texas. That guy, you always point the wrong way. You got to point across.
No, that was him. That was you.
Oh,
This is
yeah.
me.
Okay. That guy is Stephen Babcock. He is a mortgage loan originator extraordinaire, as well as a fine precious metals seller and buyer guy.
You know, the truth is,
What is your title?
I'm happy to produce the link below, but as of this show, I'm no longer affiliated with the company. So I should probably
With who? Motto?
do that. Yeah, I've decided to hang up the license. I can refer to my great and wonderful friend Corey Casper, who's done a terrific job, and will continue to do a terrific job. I know it.
Yes,
And long story short
he's
is
certainly
that
doing a terrific job for a few of my clients.
yeah, honestly, I couldn't ask for somebody better to take over. At least that's how I feel. You please, I know you'll tell me. You'll always tell me. But long story short is that he's been doing a terrific job, and I'm really enjoying bullion. I'm really, really, really enjoying the precious metals and ancient coins market in general. The people I'm meeting.
What's your title?
I'm an account specialist right now.
Cool.
Yeah.
And by the way, that guy suckered me into my first precious metal.
Yeah, but you know the deal you're getting. Silver's $52 an ounce right now.
Yeah, I picked a great time to buy. I should have bought like $100 million worth.
Oh, what did I get you the price for? What's yours per ounce? Do you remember?
Well, it's 47, 48.
Yeah.
That's not bad. That's a 10%. That's a 10% bump in like 4 days.
Well, yeah. You're welcome.
Thank you. Guys, what do we do on the show? We talk about real estate. We talk about precious metals. Today we're going to go off on a couple of crazy little tangents. I wanted to talk about something he sent me last week about, dude, we go a long time back talking about BRICS nations and stuff like that. So we're going to bring up a little bit of that because India and China are getting a little feisty right now.
If we ever really went back, like if we had AI dig through our videos or something, I feel like we might immediately go viral for the stuff that we've predicted that has actually gone. But then
over the last
years,
seriously, yeah, over the last 5 years, we've nailed so much crap on this show. We just don't trust ourselves. That's the problem.
Or promote properly. We need a manager. That's
both of those. But anyway, we're going to talk about a lot of cool stuff today. But what we always do, guys, the whole idea behind the show is you're sitting with a couple of guys just drinking beers or whatever. So, my friend, what are you drinking today?
I'm having a wonderful Love Street blonde Karbach.
A little bit of Karbach.
How about you?
I'm fancy today, my friend. This is a cognac that I don't know the name of. I'm drinking cognac.
I'm impressed that you can even say cognac.
I'm drinking cognac out of a Fighting Texas Aggie glass.
Oh.
Old school too, like Old Sarge there.
Can't
like
say the name.
Old stuff. My
All
friend,
right. Okay.
Cheers.
Cheers, brother.
What we really need to start doing. Do you follow Scott Adams on Twitter?
I do not.
I think Scott Adams is the guy who developed Dilbert. You remember the cartoon Dilbert, right?
Conservative who got canceled. Yes.
That's right. He got massively canceled and he's pissed off about it. Well, he's also fighting cancer right now. Yeah, sucks. But look, he's like most of us. He's a freaking moderate. He's not crazy. He's a moderate. Anyway, so he has a show on most mornings called Coffee with Scott. And he starts every show and he says, and here's what we always wait for, the all-inclusive first sip. And then everybody takes their first sip. So, I think we just need to have an all-inclusive first sip.
Okay. Right.
And here we go. And just don't do it in your car.
Anyone who had decided to lend out their crypto last week on Friday,
Oh, dude, we're not even jumping there yet. Come
I just
on,
want to apologize for everybody. That's all.
we've got some fun stuff. Um, no, I'm not going to start there yet. Wait, where am I going to start? Yeah, I'm going to start here. This is going to be fast, guys. I always like to, share some real estate interest. This is a guy in South Texas, a real estate agent, indicted for a fraud scheme. Um, we keep telling you over and over on this show that deed fraud is a massive thing, different than mortgage fraud. Okay, Letitia James is in a completely different world of trouble. This is deed fraud. So this old boy, 45-year-old mission man, could be either one of us, made his appearance in McAllen federal court on wire fraud charges. 4 counts that he sold multiple homes by forging signatures on the documents and transferring the titles to his business. There's some messed up people in this world. And actually, you were just saying something about that a little bit earlier, weren't you?
How? What was? Oh, yeah. Well, I was talking about priorities. I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. But still, I mean, started in 2021. He was selling homes without homeowner authorization, forged signatures, transferred properties. The victims, some of whom were his own family and friends. Damn. Total loss of $655,000. Is it worth it? Like,
oh man, that's totally worth it, bro. You could live like a king for like at least a week with that much.
Actually, and that's 4 properties. Keep in mind, this is in Mission. Like, real estate's not expensive. You can buy a $400,000 house down there, and it's a mansion. I've got a friend who sells real estate down there. That's not even a joke. I've seen the houses she shares on Facebook. $400,000 will buy you like 4,000 square feet built in the last 5 years. It's crazy. I just like, what are you thinking? You're a real estate agent. You don't think somebody's going to notice if you take their house? Dude.
Yeah, the whole title for, that like title lock, home title lock and all that stuff. I swear to God,
I'm thinking more and more about it, man.
It should not be the responsibility of a corporation to protect you from thieves circumnavigating our legal system. It should be the legal system protecting itself by changing the legal system up. It is ludicrous to me that no lawsuit has made it far enough to solve this problem. I cannot believe we can't figure out, with Bitcoin in existence, to have some sort of checks and balance system in the same way. It just blows my mind.
You would think. So second one I want to chat about real quick. This is actually from this guy's. It's the real estate company was called Success Real Estate. So this is his company. I love this title, by the way. Realtor with expensive ex-wife arrested over shocking $11.6 million claims about how he was funding his Palm Beach lifestyle. So
it sounds like realtors I could, well, maybe at least one realtor I could name.
There were at least 15 articles about this, but I had to pick this one because of the headline, because we always talk about the headlines. Realtor with an expensive ex-wife. Anyway, he was in Florida. They're extraditing him back to Massachusetts. He drained escrow accounts, broker commissions. Yeah.
No wonder he wasn't in state.
Yeah, exactly. So he adding to his financial woes is an expensive divorce settlement, stating that his ex-wife is demanding $4 million on several of his properties. Guess what, Jonna? You're not getting crap.
Yeah. That's bad.
That's pretty bad. Okay, so let's dive into actually what we're going to talk about. I want to start with the traders with the money. You good with that?
Yeah.
I'll try to go through this pretty quickly. So Steve sent me this last week. Indian traders began switching to the Chinese yuan for Russian oil purchases. Indian Oil Corporation recently made payments in Chinese currency for 2 to 3 cargoes of Russian oil. Now, I'm going to start right there, and I'm going to let you explain why this is a big deal.
I think the treaty was called the Bretton Woods Treaty. Can't remember exactly what it was called, but it was something right after World War II.
I'm not even going to nod my head because I've got no idea.
Sure. Well, it was something like that. And it was a treaty that essentially allowed the U.S. government to use U.S. dollars for oil trades, which then essentially made U.S. dollars the world's reserve currency.
Right.
So when people wanted to make sure that in times of inflation, they could still go to their version of gold, right? They would call that U.S. dollars. Okay.
Right.
It gave us this unprecedented ability to print our own money, which we said we wouldn't do, but of course we did. And we could then spend as much money as we possibly wanted to without any kind of repercussion, because we wouldn't feel the inflation. We would just print more dollars when we needed them, and the rest of the world would feel the inflation, right? So we could just kind of make it work on our end, and then the rest of the world wouldn't. And for years, this was fine until President Biden took Russia's money. I'm sure some people saw that. I remember that. And then gave it to Ukraine. And so suddenly the rest of the world felt extremely threatened by this. What you mean, like one bad negotiation and suddenly now we're going to have all our money taken away from us and given to someone else? Like it was a really big deal. I mean, I can't really overstate it. And I do not talk politics on this channel.
I mean, we do, but we don't do it from a position of partisan,
I do my best to absolutely avoid using any president's name, any kind of political talking points. But
it belies the fact that Biden was the one who did this.
Well, in this particular incident, it happened, it happened back in that administration. So it happened a while ago at this point. And since then, we have been losing ground.
That's when the whole talk about the BRICS nations started.
40 plus nations decided to form the BRICS nations. All right. Why is that important? Well, because those nations make up about half of the world's trade. So now suddenly,
they're currently trading in our dollar.
Right. Now suddenly half the world is about to, in 2026, start with their own brand new currency and trade in that currency and not in dollars. And the rest of the world, pretty much Friday, caught up to it.
Yep.
A lot of the world has been preparing for this. The big banks have been preparing for this. The big banks right now in our country hold more gold than they do debt. You don't understand what kind of a big deal that is. Typically, banks would have maybe 10% of what you've deposited on hand.
I was going to say though, at this point, they've been essentially hoarding gold for the last 2 or 3 years.
Oh, 5 to 10. It's been off the books. A lot of it. China's been way off the books. They have now 74 million pounds or tons, I believe. Can't remember exactly what it is, but they have an enormous amount. It's not close to what we have, but that's what we know. We've also proven that they have at least double that, but through like shady stuff that we've been able to like kind of accountant wise get to. So we're sure they've been buying more gold than they're telling everyone. They just haven't explained what. These BRICS nations were planning on using all of this gold to then back a brand new currency divided amongst all the nations. So if one of them goes complete bankrupt, gets invaded, all the gold taken, well, that's 1/40th. It's 1/40th of the value of the currency. So technically,
it's global currency.
And it's also gold backed, which means you would have to have all 40 countries decide they're going to drop the gold currency to make this work. So most young people my age, don't remember this because they weren't alive for it. But in 71, I believe, we were taken off the gold standard for good, officially. And when that happened, our dollar wasn't as good as the gold behind it. It was as good as the politicians running the country, which the politicians didn't see a problem with, but the rest of us did.
It's as good as how strong our military is.
Our currency has dropped roughly 99% since that's happened. So the dollar is that much weaker since that day when we got off the gold standard. Okay. So if you had your money in the bank, it's worth 1% what it was back then. Good for you. Good luck, right? So the rest of the world now has decided they're done with the dollar. And I mean it. And it's happening fast. And Friday, we had a tweet from the president went out about how he might do 100% tariffs on China. And then, according to Chris, it seems that was the time that the fraudsters got into action because they were like, this is a perfect decoy. I guess. I don't know. I haven't seen this.
Timing, man. Yeah. And I wish I would have pulled that stuff up, but I forgot.
Well, now the big conspiracy theory, right? Because now we have two different stories. So, yay, new conspiracy. But, because there's none of those. But long story short is you had lots of people with crypto. Crypto can't do anything. It just sits there, right? Well,
Should I just
some
pull up
institutions
the
have
next
figured out.
article?
Huh?
Should I just pull up the next article?
Sure. Well, yeah, because I already talked about them trading. So that's really what that was about. So India has already started trading in Chinese yuan. There you go. That was the article.
Yes.
And next year they're starting their BRICS nation currency. I don't know what it's called, but right now I'm going to call it the BRICS nations currency. And it will be gold backed beyond all 40, or with divided by all 40 countries. And their goal is to replace the dollar. And I'll tell you, if they come up with a modern system with a cheaper way of doing things than our SWIFT system, which is SWIFT is an acronym for the what we use to trade money overseas, and it's old, it's archaic. There's better ones already.
Hint, blockchain.
Yeah. And if they have a gold-backed currency, I almost guarantee you the rest of the world will follow suit. And when they do, all the dollars out there come crashing back to us, and our currency is worthless. So our country has to come up with some plan to get out of this. I mean, there's no way we can keep dollars. And the world's realizing dollars are dead or dying.
Yeah, and that goes back to the other article, and it goes back to this also. So the thing is Steve said that we could always print our money because we could sell the debt to other countries. I mean, Japan is one of the largest holders of our debt.
Right.
Well, I mean, shit, if everybody that's holding our debt now switches to the other currency and that debt starts coming back to us.
Right. You know how the government numbers have been fake, right?
Right. Well, we're talking about bonds, right? But if it's like anything else with supply and demand. If the market is flooded with our bonds, they're essentially worthless at that point.
Well, bonds and jobs. Right. And inflation data and the definition of inflation. Just think about this, though, Chris. In the last year, gold's gone up about 60%.
Yeah.
But I'll challenge you to think of gold differently. Gold doesn't change in value. The dollars used to buy gold change in value.
That's fair.
So really what I've just told you is that the value of the dollar has dropped 60% in a year.
Which is inflation.
For the first time,
we've all seen it at the grocery store. We've seen it.
So like in the 80s, you would have needed roughly 800 gold coins to buy a house. Today, it's 100.
Well, but you nailed it. You and I were talking, and you were talking about an ounce of gold. Like going back, a gold coin was an ounce, and it would buy you the finest suit.
So yes, and if it was 800 coins in the 80s, it should have been 800 coins today. And that suggests that gold's changed in value, but what's really changed rapidly is the dollar, and everything else hasn't really caught up to it yet. There's a huge delay, 1 or 2 year delay on these kinds of things. Yeah.
But you take a 1 ounce gold coin today and it's worth $4,000, give or take.
Actually, I think it went up $150 today.
Okay, $4,100. So
you understand if you go back to when you and I were kids, gold was $250 an ounce.
$250, yeah.
And it just went up $125, $150 in a day.
Yeah.
Silver was up $3 at one point today.
Yeah.
These are safe haven assets. And what happened on Friday, which I know you're going to read about, was a huge shock because if you think the market's going to crash, the whole stock market, right? It's going to crash right now. Go. Where do you put your money? Quick, sell, and put it someplace. Usually people would put it in gold or recently they've been putting it in crypto and Bitcoin has been seen as this nice reserve asset like gold used to be, right? Or is. And it crashed too on Friday. And the only one that didn't crash was gold and silver, precious metals.
1 hour, 13% drop in Bitcoin.
Right. And so what happened as a result, because Bitcoin is what is it? It's just this digital number. Okay. Well, large institutions have figured out they can lend out Bitcoin.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even know this. This blew my mind. Go ahead.
So you can take your Bitcoin, give it to the large institutions, and then they will pay you a percentage for it. You don't get to know what they're doing with your Bitcoin, but they're using it. And it's like a CD, like a certificate of, so you give them the $1,000 and in 6 months, they'll give you 2%, right? Or whatever it is. And
You're not sponsored by Bullish, by the way. Sorry.
Nope, not at all. And so, people have been giving their Bitcoin. Well, 1,500 people that gave them their Bitcoin lost all of their Bitcoin during this crash. It all disappeared. It's all gone. That was part of the risk. And
But
one of them,
you said that earlier. How the hell does that happen?
same way if you were, putting your money into a bank and the bank went up, right? And let's just say
So they
the
just
FDIC wasn't
confiscated
around,
holy shit.
right? If there's no FDIC, like there isn't in Bitcoin,
Yeah, it's not protected. Government protected.
right? It was gone. And so, whatever they had the investments in failed, basically. I'm sure they had shorted something and the shorts were due. And I'm sorry, didn't mean to lose all your money, right?
Yeah.
And
I'm going to go tinfoil hat for a second. And guys, by the way, on this show, we're typically not doom and gloom, but this is big shit that's happening that nobody's talking about. Like I don't watch news, so maybe it's all over Fox and CNN. I don't know. But I'm going to go tinfoil hat for a second. Let's go back about 2 or 3 years, and you and I were talking about government digital currency. If a government wanted to put some concern into non-government crypto, would they do something like this?
So yes, and we were talking about a CBDC, which is a central bank digital currency. The Fed has had it ready to go since 2020, so about 5 years now. They have done internal testing. They've done lots of testing on it. They're ready to go, but government has said no so far. So yeah, if you're going to have a need to get rid of the thing that people have built and then try, you cause chaos to say, well, help us government. Yeah. So, I guess that could be.
But here's the thing that just struck me about it, and you nailed it. You said, well, there's no FDIC for crypto, but I will bet that there is an insurance for CBDCs.
I don't know. I would also bet, but I don't know. I haven't seen any more details than what the Fed is really.
By the way, if anybody watching knows, tell us, please. We love comments, by the way.
Yeah.
We're just kind of going off on a tangent today because this is all relevant, man. I don't know. I just got to thinking about it. When you said there's no FDIC for crypto, I'm going, oh, but I bet there is if it's a government crypto. So let's go down this rabbit hole. Let's go down this tinfoil hat rabbit hole for a second. We've got all these nations going into gold-backed BRICS currency. Again, BRICS currency, whatever that is. And you said a very interesting thing earlier. You said the government's got to the U.S. government has got to figure out a way to deal with this. Would switching to a CBDC help?
It would only help the government control more people. I don't think it would help the government with their debt problems.
Well, we know that essentially our politicians exist to stay in power.
Well, you hope they don't. I hope they don't.
Okay, you can hope in one hand, shit in the other one. Which one's going to fill up faster?
I think, I've spoken to a few people that have run, and they're full of hope until they're hit in the face with reality.
Right.
And I think at a local level, you can still do a lot, but when you get to the federal level, it's you're going to play baseball or not
hates Trump. We have a Trump hater here.
No, I don't think that at all. In fact, I had the most hope for Trump out of anyone, because for years I always wanted a business person, someone that had actually dealt with these kinds of issues, and then maybe not these kinds, but dealt with more than just voters.
And by the way, time out for a second. LA, I'm not saying that in a bad way. Like I don't. You could have voted for I don't know. You could have voted for Bernie Sanders, and I wouldn't have cared.
I don't know. See, actually, you know what, LA, I have an autistic son, so part of me was very, very happy that any politician would be talking about autism, but then another part of me was very, very sad for exactly what you just wrote, because as soon as, even if he were very great, well intentioned, as soon as Trump opened his mouth about autism, it became a political talking point.
Yeah.
And my son is 7 years old, and I'm trying to really, really help him. And man, it just sucks that emotions are that flared up about what's going on in the world. And I understand it. We're talking about how bad things are, right? So, listen, I'm not, I had a lot of hope, but that's all I really had, I think.
Yeah. Well, and I mean that's the thing, right? And I'm like, God dang it, because now I don't want to go down the political rabbit hole.
No, because it's never ending battle, and it's all emotions. I mean, people are emotional. They're not logical. They're F you. I don't even care what you have to say. I hate you. You hate me. I hate you. Yeah, F you.
It's on both sides. It's stupid. Like whatever. But what I was going to say is I don't want to go down the rabbit hole, but at the same time, people have real feelings about it. And like, I get it. Yeah. There's bad things. I personally, I wasn't talking about it being a scam at a Trump level, because in order to pull this off, to do what we're talking about over here, in order to kind of push in a CBDC, because the rest of the world's kind of moving away from the dollar, that's not a president move.
So all you would do,
I mean,
yeah, honestly, it's more of a Fed move, and
well, yeah.
What's interesting about the Federal Reserve, for those of you watching that don't know, is that they're not federal and they have no reserves. But if you were to do the CBDC over what we have right now, it gives government a lot more control over certain aspects.
I wish you would hang around, but thanks for visiting.
Yeah, all good. It gives government a lot more control, but it doesn't really control inflation very much, right? So if your government still, in fact, if anything, the argument, at least from the conservative side, would be that it would actually hurt inflation a lot more, because you've given government more control, right? And the politicians rarely say, "All right, everybody, who's for saving money this year? Let's really tighten up the budget," right? They'll say it, but then when they do it, there's riots in the streets, or protesters everywhere. And so, the easy thing is to just print more money, right? You and I have discussed the baseline that Congress has, and if you just freeze the levels so that they're at the same levels they were the year before, that's called a deduction. That's called cutting. So you're going to cut spending if you keep things the same, which is crazy. Right. That's not cutting. That's just keeping it the same. Cutting is actually cutting spending, right? Like actually lowering spending.
Yeah, lowering it.
Which that's called egregious and Gregorian. Details. Okay, so
okay, dude. No, I gotta do this. I gotta switch because you brought that up. Did you read this article that I sent you from Brian Westbury this morning?
Oh yeah, sure I did. Yeah.
Yeah, of course you did.
So I didn't even know you sent it. What's up?
Well, I forgot to text you, but I'm like, this is right in line with what you're talking about. So I'm gonna read this real quick, guys. I'm sorry. We're gonna shift up, and this could be a long show. My wife's gonna choke me. Over the past 2.5 decades, federal government's buried taxpayers under a mountain of debt, now approaching $38 trillion. During this time, the key problem has been spending, not a lack of revenue. Over the past 25 years, taxes have remained stable as a share of GDP, while spending has continued to rise. What's that?
I did read this. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you.
Over the past 25 years, I just said that. We estimate that spending was 23.2% of GDP in the year ending September 30th, fiscal year 2025, versus 17.7% in 2000. That's a fairly large increase. In other words, the reason we have a debt problem is because we have a spending problem. That's the bad news. And it means policymakers still have a long way to go before we can claim our fiscal house is in order. But just because the overall budget picture remains bleak doesn't mean we shouldn't recognize improvements when they happen. Congressional Budget Office recently estimated that budget deficit for the year that ended on the 30th came in at 1.809 trillion, slightly smaller than fiscal year 2024. And they say, although that's only an improvement of $8 billion in dollar terms, there are reasons, at least, for some modest hope. GDP grew 4.8% in 2025. That means that even if the deficit remained roughly the same, after clocking, it declined relative to GDP. So after clocking in at 6 in the GDP of fiscal year 2024, it's 6.0, so down 0.3%. Second, the decline in the deficit this past year would have been larger were it not for a calendar issue. I don't know how people understand, like, where do you go and find this? 2 years ago, October 1st fell on a Sunday, so $72 billion that would normally have been made that day instead were on Friday, September 29th. The shift changed the budget math because the 29th was in fiscal year 2023. That means it should have been in 2024. So essentially 2024 should have been $72 billion higher. So that's a net of 80 billion. Anyway, I'm shortchanging it just to move on. And although federal spending was up $228 billion last year after adjusting for the timing issue discussed above, the gain was due to factors largely outside of the control of the new president and Congress, at least in the short term. Spending on Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare were up a combined 245 billion. Meanwhile, interest payments on the national debt were up 80 billion, which had nothing to do with the current administration. The EPA, under the direction of the former president, shoveled out an additional $20 billion in extra payments in the waning days of an administration. By contrast, other categories of spending outside of the entitlements, interest, and usual EPA payments declined $117 billion. And then there was some other stuff. But this is what I was trying to get to. None of this means we're anywhere close to having debt or deficit situation under control. A deficit of 6% of GDP is still unsustainable. Moreover, Supreme Court may throw out the whole situation if it declares recent tariffs are illegal. Current shutdown and political brawl over emergency additions to Medicaid spending and COVID is extremely important for maintaining the progress. Government spending has been on a one-way escalator up from 08 and COVID, permanently lifting spending to a larger and larger share of the GDP. Somehow the angst over budget deficits has disappeared. That's what you were just talking about. We remember when deficits were all anyone ever talked about. Sam Donaldson screaming at Reagan about the size of the deficit. Lastly, the angst and screaming about cutting spending, not reducing deficit. The good news is that progress is being made. It's important to recognize that budget progress, when it happens, even if more needs to be done. So here's a thumbs up to the progress that's been made. So exactly what you're talking about, right? Like we're making progress.
I mean, it says at the end, like, yeah, granted, we know that's only 2% of the whole budget. Not even, it was like less, it was like 0.2%.
0.2, yeah. But I went on a reading spree and lost half of our people. I'm sorry. And yes, it is crazy stupid.
Damn it, Chris.
My bad. It just like it correlated in with what I saw from Westbury. And actually, guys, I'll put that in if anybody wants to read it slower and make some sense out of it. Where is it? I can't find it. Damn it. Did I delete it? There it is. I'll put that in the comments for you guys to read if y'all want. But anyway, sorry, back to the regularly scheduled program.
Yeah, bottom line is that things are shifting.
Yeah.
You have a massive amount of money that's moving in the system.
Oh, you were talking about that earlier. So let's jump into that. You said y'all had a meeting at work.
Yeah.
And this is what y'all were talking about.
It's unbelievable. You know, Goldman Sachs is calling $6,000 gold and $65 silver.
Holy crap.
You don't call something like that unless you have underlying major issues in the financial economy. That would be more than a 100% drop in the dollar, which would not have materialized yet, which means we're really looking at a depression, like a Great Depression.
Yeah.
Once everything finally, all the fruit comes to bear, right? So I would say anybody listening right now should be paying off their debts as soon as they can and saving what they can, and then buying probably silver at this point. But I don't know. I'm not a financial advisor at all, so don't take that with a grain. Take that with a grain of salt. That's what I would just tell my kids. But it's kind of it's pretty scary out there. What's happening right now? It does appear that at least half the world within the next year will stop trading in the dollar.
And I just think about all the bonds that are purchased in those countries.
So that's another thing. We've talked. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, and the interest rate that those bonds traded at.
So for those of you watching, saying, what the hell is he talking about bonds? Whatever. So our government produces bonds. Actually, it's not true. The Fed produces bonds. Okay. And they offer the bonds for sale. And if there's a lot of people that are like, yes, I want those bonds, which are other countries, by the way, mostly other countries. It doesn't always have to be, but it's mostly other countries. Then we say, oh, well, you really want them, huh? Well, then we're going to raise the interest rate, right? And then, we're going to lower the interest rate.
Lower,
And if they say we don't really want them, then they say, okay, well, we're going to raise the interest rate.
Yeah.
And these are rates that the government has to pay these countries, right?
Yeah.
So, long story short is that a few years ago when rates were like super low, let's just say, I don't want to throw out an actual number, but when they were super low,
when your house mortgage rate was super low,
our own government was buying the bonds to make the rates low. Our own Fed was, well, it's not really ours, but the Fed was printing dollars to buy bonds to keep the rates low. And while they did that, they kept the rates low, but they simultaneously caused great amounts of inflation.
Yeah.
And it was known, everyone knew what they were doing, quantitative easing. Ben Bernanke called it a bazooka, the ability to do that, just to shoot off a cannon and make rates super low and spur the economy. And it did great things, right?
We're throwing out, you get a house and you get a house and you.
Problem is, we had a $200,000 home was $1 million at the end of that decade, right? Something like that. And today it's gotten out of control. And so the world is kind of recognizing that, and they're shifting dollars around. And it's Friday was a really good example of that happening, but them not going into crypto, which is really interesting. It's really interesting that when
and that was the major shift, right? Not going into crypto.
Not only that, they pulled out of crypto.
Yeah.
And crap! The world's ending. We better sell our crypto, which it was supposed to be. We invest in crypto, which means the mentality out there is such that if the world's going to end, you better get out of anything that has to do with electricity.
You better buy hard assets.
Right? If we lose our power grid like Ukraine, how do you buy bread with Bitcoin?
That's a great, I know what my next YouTube videos are going to be about. I mean, I'm serious. I never thought about it the way that you just said it. And that's exactly what happened. If the world is going to shit, you better have hard assets because everybody in crypto is bailing out.
Not only that, let me run a scenario by you. You are a young, it's very young. You're a young college student, okay?
Yeah.
And you have the ability to press a button and become a millionaire.
Yep.
You already answered, so you'd press the button.
Yep.
Okay. Quantum computers have the ability, once they're fully functional, which they are not, despite what you have read, they are not. You will know when they are because of that child that would be pressing that button.
That's right.
Quantum computers, theoretically, have the ability within seconds to mine every remaining Bitcoin, which shouldn't happen until like 2047, I believe.
Yeah.
But in literally a heartbeat, you can press the button, have the quantum computer come up with every single blockchain theoretically in existence, come up with every Bitcoin, and whoever does it would have all those Bitcoins transferred to their wallet, and they would be really wealthy.
And not only that, but the ability to hack anything on this planet just happened. Not only can I get everything else that's out there, but I can get everything that everybody else owns.
Right, because quantum computers theoretically would be able to bypass any encryption method that we have today. 128, 256 bit, whatever, it doesn't matter. In a second or maybe two, it can, I mean, but no more. It'll have no problem getting through in literally any security system. So you sure you want to put all your money in Bitcoin?
Do you think it's a coincidence that all of these nations are backing their currency with gold?
No. No, I don't.
I mean, like it's amazing, right? But I mean, think about the number of emails I get a day that your password may have been compromised and this and that and everything else. You know what's not compromised? My gun safe.
Right.
And if that one's compromised, maybe not my other one.
It takes some balls to compromise your gun safe.
It would
takes
take
zero balls.
I can sit on the other side of the world and do this, and I can take everything you have except for the shit that's in your house and on your land.
You can be a eunuch and take care of that, but you want to break into a gun safe, you got to have some real guts, especially in this state.
isn't this conversation ending up in an interesting spot? Dan's like, you won't get mine either.
But long story short is that a lot of scary stuff happened on Friday. And I'm not surprised it hasn't been written about as much as I kind of would have expected.
And isn't that the craziest part? Like,
It
why is this
so-
not leading news everywhere?
It looks as though our nation has started a decline that is going to be really, really, really freaking difficult to get out of. You know, we have our wonderful geographical position in the world where we have the easiest amount of trade than any other country. So, I mean, no matter what, we're going to be in a great position. Just geographically, there's almost no way for us not to be some sort of power player. But the rest of the world has decided they're not playing our game.
That's right.
And maybe not all of them right now, but at least 50% are the ones that matter.
Yeah.
And that's a really big deal, like a really big deal. And it's also why gold has gone up 60% over the last year.
Yeah. The signs have been there.
And by the way, real estate's doing really well too in a lot of areas. It's not being written about because boo-hoo, you know, bad messaging sells lots of clicks, right? But at the end of the day, you cannot have a declining dollar and have real estate not go up.
That's right.
Because real estate is a hard asset that will increase in value as your dollar goes down in value. Actually, it doesn't increase in value at all. Increases in dollars. Your dollar decreases in value.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I mean, if you think about it, it's too much. It puts that at a huge risk. And the thing is I don't know that anything can be done about the debt outside of just
Tell you what I'd do.
come on, let's go. The world according to Steve.
I do what they did in 1931.
You talked about it on here before.
1934, but I'd invest in crypto as well. So I would say all the U.S. debt needs to transfer to crypto.
Yep.
We're going to go into a stable coin. And then I would crash the stable coin market so that all of our debt that was 37 trillion is now like 800 billion trillion, right? Right. Something crazy. And then you say, wow, well that didn't go well. I don't even know how to value this. Tell you what, let's transfer everything back to the gold standard and we'll revalue our gold.
A crap ton of gold.
And then we'll revalue our gold at 15. Why fuck now? How about $20,000 an ounce? Yeah. Excuse my French. And oh, by the way, we'll just use that to pay off all this cheap crypto crap. And oh, guess what? We're out of debt now. And now we get to start from scratch. And then, by the way, the rest of the world's on a gold standard, so you just start trading in their currency.
Right back to flat. You're
no,
back to even.
You can't print your own money. You'd have to start learning to live within your own means.
Yeah, that's right. No, I'm saying you're back to even with the board for the world.
Well, you would have to crash crypto to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you'd piss off everybody that went into crypto. Can you think of any countries that have gone to crypto? Maybe ones that we're surrounding with our army right now?
Venezuela? Seriously, are you kidding me?
They went all Bitcoin like 5 years ago.
You're going to have to show up next Monday to find out the rest. Tune in next Monday for Paul Harvey. And now you know.
Why don't we just do Steve Babcock? I got to start. I'm like, I need a promoter. Somebody be like, bro, look at these old videos, man. He's like,
holy
wait,
crap.
Isn't this like a white symbol thing now? I can't do AOK.
Dude, but remember when it was upside down and if you like looked at it, I punched you? And now
no.
It's not
oh.
Yeah, look. You see it?
Yeah. It's a bat wing. Yeah.
I mean, that's what we get for being old.
Good times. Cheers, everybody.
Guys,
tune in next week.
Next Monday.
Let's do it.
Y'all.